Everyone, it's Mrs. McGrath here. We're going to talk about counting by fractions today. So back when you were in Brown School, you probably did some skip counting by fives or by tens. 5, 10, 15, 20, or 10, 20, 30, 40. Well, today we're going to count, but we're going to count by fractions. So we're going to start by counting by halves. So here I have my little pieces here, pattern blocks to help us. And this piece, this trapezoid, we're going to call 1/2. So if I start counting at 0 and then I add in this piece, I now have 1/2. If I add in another piece, I now have 2 halves. Or I could call that 1 whole. I'm going to continue counting here. I'm going to add another piece. Now I have 1, 2, 3 halves. Or I could call it 1 whole and 1/2. I'm going to add another piece here. Now I see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4 halves. Or I notice I have 1 whole, 2 wholes. When I continue this pattern, I'm going to add another one. I have 5 halves. Actually, before I move on, I can also call 5 halves 1, 2 wholes and a half. 2 wholes and 1/2. Now I see a pattern happening. I have a 0 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can kind of predict what my next number might be. I predict it might be 6 halves. I put another piece. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 halves. Or my other name could be 1, 2, 3 wholes. So some of these fractions have more than one name for them. I noticed something else about these numbers here that are on my paper. This problem and this problem and this one here all remind me of division. I see a division fact in here. Do you? I see 2 divided by 2 equals 1. I'm going to write it like this. 2 divided by 2 equals 1. And over here I see it too. If I have 4 items and I split them into 2 groups, there would be 2 in each group. What about this one? 6 divided by 2 equals 3. So this line that we're using for fractions actually really means dividing. So when we're doing fractions, we're really dividing something. We're going to continue on, but we're going to count with different numbers this time. And I wonder if we'll see some of the same patterns if we're counting by a different fraction. This time we're going to count by thirds. So as a quick refresher, if you didn't watch my last video, this hexagon, or this yellow hexagon here, is always our 1 whole. So when we're building with these pattern blocks, these are going to be thirds because there's 3 pieces that make up the whole. So we're going to count by thirds starting at 0. So here's our first piece, 1/3. Add another one. Now I have 2/3. The next one is 3/3, or it has another name. It's the same as our whole. Now I'm going to continue. I'm going to add one more. So now here's that fractions greater than 1. 1, 2, 3, 4/3 is a fraction greater than 1. And as a mixed number, I can write that as 1 whole and 1/3. So that has 2 names, right? 4/3 or 1 and 1/3. It's the same thing. I'm going to add another piece here. I almost have 2 wholes, but not quite. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/3. Or we can call it 1 whole and 2/3. Now I still see a pattern happening even though we're counting by different numbers. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think the next one will be 6/3. If I add one more piece, do I have 6 of them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6/3. Or the other name would be 2 wholes. Again, I also notice some division with this problem here and this problem here. 3 divided by 3 equals 1. And 6 divided by 3 equals 2. So we're going to practice these counting routines because this is going to be really important when we have to go and make number lines. This is actually kind of already set up for our number line. So on Friday, you have an assignment where you have to make some number lines on paper. And this is going to be really handy because this is really your number line. It's just kind of turned, right now it looks like this, and we want it to look this way. So you basically already have your number lines. Okay, so I want you to remember this video and remember some of these things about counting by fractions on Friday when you have to go and make your number line.